This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
And welcome everybody to episode 83 of the Animaniacs.
Mr. Annoying never makes a sound when Rocket Rat flies into town.
Here I come to rescue you.
Rocket Rat, the rodent true blue.
But first, a nap.
And welcome to the Animaniacs. We are the only podcast out there dedicated to the animated series, Animaniacs. And here we explore the series episode by episode, revisiting all of the cultural references and gags. And in the end, we give each episode a water tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me are my co-hosts, my brother Nathan. Nathan.
Toasted hats who loved Geraldo on the next shrimp boat.
And joining us across the country is Kelly.
Hi.
I thought you were going to say just toot toot, Nathan.
Oh.
I didn't. I wanted to see if you were going to call Kelly Toot Toot.
Well, it was either toot toot or cha 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 in my head. It was like either one of those two things. That's what Nathan's going to say. But
no, I'm going all over. I also could have said cuckoo.
Well, anyway, today we are talking about episode 83 of Animaniacs, the infamous episode, as I've been finding out from some people. This episode, One Flew Over the Cuckoo Clock, stars none other than Slappy Squirrel and Skippy Squirrel, and it's nothing but that. It's a half-hour long special. It has a whole special intro and no Animaniacs theme song at all. Just this, Slappy Squirrel. I guess you could call it the Skippy and Slappy theme. Well, Nathan, Kelly, if someone were to ask you about this episode in a few words, what would you tell them?
Special.
It's special. It's classic comedy, I guess, throughout the whole thing. Just hilarious.
Are you being facetious, perhaps, Nathan?
No, you're crazy.
Nathan's never facetious.
Never. Well, before we get into our discussion of today's episode, we are proud to announce that we have a new sponsor. Ba, 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 ba. It's none other than this little company you may have heard of, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Amazon.com.
Is this like a new startup?
I think perhaps.
Aren't they really only a sponsor if they pay us to talk about them?
That's very true. But
they're not paying us.
They are hopefully going to be paying us in this way, because we have a brand new Animaniacs Amazon shop. Ooh, that's right. See, now we're starting to get the connections. A lot of times people say, hey, Joey, how can we support the show? Because, you have to pay every month to host the show, and that costs money. And I was like, no.
People are just asking, how can they give you money?
Every day. They keep asking me, how can I give you money?
I can give them my PayPal account, and that would solve that real quick.
But one of the best ways here, though, that we're finding, though, is things like, TeePublic. We have our TeePublic store, which is teepublic.animaniacast.com, and things like that. It'll help cover the costs of hosting our show each and every month when people go to purchase stuff. But this just came about, our Amazon shop, which is amazon.animaniacast.com. If you go to amazon.animaniacast.com, you can basically see a lot of cool Animaniacs merchandise, whether it's costumes or shirts or pins, or even, of course, the videos themselves. We have the whole DVD sets and Pinky and the Brain and Freakazoid and Hysteria and Tiny Toons all grouped together so that you can find what you want for Animaniacs. And if you do go through that little portal, the Animaniacast gets a few pennies as well. So it's a great way to help get some stuff that you actually want and actually help support our show. And according to what Amazon has told me, if people just go to amazon.animaniacast.com and then you don't really see anything you want, but then you find something else just searching on Amazon, that as long as it's all through that same shopping trip, you're still supporting the show. They'll still even give us a little fraction of what you purchased. So let's say you go to our shop and then you say, I'm just going to buy some Star Wars DVDs instead. Well, theoretically, we should get a little bit of something of that too. So it's kind of an experiment, but it's kind of an exciting way to find some cool Animaniacs stuff. So I asked Nathan and Kelly and myself to look at the shop and see if we could find one item on our shop that we thought was kind of cool and we wanted to talk about. So, Nathan, what did you pick out that you'd like to talk about?
Oh boy, I'm going first. Oh,
Yes.
Okay. Well, so there's some really cool clothing and merch, but I went straight to the video selection. I already have Animaniacs on my Hulu, but I don't have Freakazoid Season 2. I only have Season 1, so that's my pick. Freakazoid Season 2, and there's even a special for Seasons 1 and 2 where you get free shipping with just buying it. You don't even need to buy anything else. It's all primed up and ready to go.
That's right. We got a lot of prime shipping on these.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. Kelly, what did you see on the store that you liked?
I saw a shirt that I already have, so I can recommend it wholeheartedly. It's the Animaniacs See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Speak No Evil t-shirt, and it's got Dot covering her eyes, and Wacko covering his ears, and Yakko covering his mouth. And it's a gray shirt. It looks like it's sized in juniors, and it's super soft and cute, and I really enjoy it.
All right. And I am going to recommend the following shirt. It's Animaniacs The Good Feathers. And it looks like it's an official merchandise, which I really appreciate. But it looks like The Good Feathers, and it's spelled out in the font of The Godfather. And it just has Pesto Squid and Bobby all sitting right there in kind of a distressed design. It's black and a white text and everything. It just looks really cool. So yes, we even have Good Feathers merchandise in there as well. So a lot of cool stuff. And especially if you're an Animaniacs fan and you're already going to be getting some of this stuff, planning on getting it, well, it's all collected here in this one place on Amazon. And if you're a Prime member like I am, then you get it to your door in just a couple days, which is pretty cool. I love Amazon.
Yeah.
So that site again is amazon.animaniacast.com. Use it to find some cool Animaniacs merchandise, or really just any Amazon merchandise that you'd like. On your next Amazon trip, that might be today or tomorrow, just go to amazon.animaniacast.com first for all that. Woo! All right, well, let's go ahead and get into our discussion of episode 83. Nathan, when did this episode first premiere?
Oh boy. Okay. I actually looked this up for the first time. Saturday, September 7th, 1996. Usually I just memorize this, but for some reason I had never seen this episode before. So this is actually the first episode of season 4. This is actually one of 2 episodes that I played that day. So as tradition, I'm going to go over all the movies that came out since the last episode ended of season 3. At least, a couple of the movies, because there's a lot of movies that came out.
The ones that you liked, anyway.
The ones that popped out to me. So, in March. So, last one was in February. In March, we got Sergeant Bilko and Fargo. Do you remember those?
I've seen Fargo and like it very much. I've seen bits of Sergeant Bilko because it's not as good.
It's not very good. Okay. April, you'll like this. Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie, and Kids in the Hall with Brain Candy. Remember those?
Yes, I do. And
also not great movies.
Mystery Science Theater, the movie, is not as good as the show, but I remember that was like I really, really wanted to see that, and it came to Tucson so late, and it only played in like one little art theater here in Tucson, like 2 or 3 weeks after its release everywhere else in the country. And yeah, I just remember being kind of disappointed when it was done. Like, well, that was it. And yeah, I have mixed feelings about the Mystery Science Theater movie. I like it because it's Mystery Science Theater, but it's not their best one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the episodes are better, and same with Kids in the Hall. Like I feel
Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy. Yeah, that's another one where it's like, it's okay.
I just rather watch the show, I think.
Yeah.
So month here. Okay, and month of May. Twister, and Mission Impossible. Great movies. Twister was, I think, the biggest movie that summer. So.
Yay!
Isn't it crazy that Mission Impossible is still
like
coming out
the
with
sixth
movies?
movie, I think, is coming out.
Oh my
this
gosh!
summer or something.
Yeah,
Like,
insane. I mean, I've only seen the first two. I gave up on Mission Impossible after the second one, and
the
ironically,
second one was the worst one.
yeah, ironically, I guess they got better after that. So I shouldn't
Yeah.
have given up on them because I guess they got pretty good. But
I always get mad at that second one. It's not a Mission Impossible movie at all. Anyways, June, we got Cable Guy with Jim Carrey. We got
Yeah.
Joey's favorite Disney movie, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. We got The Nutty Professor remake, and we have The Rock with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery.
Is that really your favorite Disney movie?
it's one of them, definitely.
It's one of them. It
I've
may
never
not be now.
met anyone who liked it that much.
I really like it a lot. It's so different.
No, I like it. I made the mistake of reading. That was one situation where I was like, yeah, the book is nothing like.
Oh
the
yeah, I
movie.
never read the book. I knew going in like I should not read the book.
Well, it's a wonderful book. I love Victor Hugo, and I, I'm okay with adaptations. Y'all know my feelings about Ready Player One. That was a really good adaptation for what was a difficult book to adapt. But Hunchback of Notre Dame completely sanitized that story.
Yeah, but like all the early isn't like Cinderella, like don't they like cut their feet off or something?
Yeah,
Like,
I guess it doesn't bother me as much because those are fairy tales.
Yeah, it's
and-
not a piece of literature.
Yeah, it's not a Victor Hugo work.
Yeah.
That's like doing Les Miserables and nobody dies.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I can't wait to read the book one day and then, get into the Jason Alexander gargoyle arc to really see more about that character.
yeah, like that was good. Anyway, so on to July, we have Independence Day, Phenomenon, Multiplicity, Harriet the Spy. Those are all fine movies, I guess.
Well, definitely Multiplicity. I love that movie. I can see that all the time.
Independence Day was great. Like, I mean, that also got a sequel. In August, we got Matilda, kind of in the vein of Harriet the Spy, a very Brady sequel. And then Robin Williams played a kid in Jack, a giant kid.
Oh, yeah. I never saw Jack because I knew going in that it would be a depressing movie in the end because he's supposed to die, I'm sure. So I'm like, why would I watch a movie where the guy is going to die? Like,
he dies at like 16 or so, like because he ages so quickly. It's very
it's like, why would I want to watch this? Like, here's a preview. Here's the idea. This guy ages quickly and he's a 6-year-old, but he really looks like he's 40. And I'm like, well, let me just do the math. What's going to happen in a little bit? The little kid's going to die.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the opposite of Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Either way, I didn't see Benjamin Button either. Right?
It was cool. I liked it.
Well, a lot of cool movies. My goodness.
A lot of forgettable movies.
Yeah, they're all like it
Titles,
wasn't
I'm
the
like,
best
I
year for
forgot
movies.
those ever existed.
What were you saying, Kelly?
Oh, I said hearing some of those titles, I forgot some of those ever existed.
Harriet the Spy I never saw, but most of those, I don't know. I think Nathan's bringing up a lot of movies that we actually watched as kids, so that was part of the reason.
But
I don't know them all.
it was not a great summer. Looking at a lot of the movies, I was like, oh, like really, like
But
this
yeah,
is the best.
I didn't hear a Spielberg movie in there. I mean, other than Twister, which he executive produced, but yeah.
Independence Day was the summer film of that year.
Yeah, it was that and Twister.
Which,
Mission Impossible.
by the way, I stood in line for Independence Day with my Animaniacs shirt. I had an Animaniacs alien shirt, where on the front of the shirt it shows these 3 aliens coming at you, looking really mean. And on the back of it, it shows that they take off their masks and that they're Yakko, Wacko, and Dot on the back of it. And I still have that shirt today. But I wore that alien shirt waiting in line to get tickets or to whatever to go see Independence Day. This is back in the day where you had to like wait in line for a few hours right when the theater opened a week before the movie and then get in line to get, oh gosh. The 90s
Good old days.
The 90s was tough, let me tell you.
I only did that for Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I did that for Phantom Menace, but I think one of the first times I did it was for Independence Day, which is not the same.
By the time Attack of the Clones came out, I learned that you can order tickets by phone. I was like, this is amazing technology.
Well, I don't have a transition, so we're just going to get right into...
You're crazy.
Okay. Oh, there we go. You're so crazy. Now let's talk about this episode with Crazy Slappy. Let's get into our discussion here of One Flew Over the Cuckoo Clock.
Toot toot.
And One Flew Over the Cuckoo Clock was written by Nicholas Hollander, Jeff Whitney, and Tom Ruger. And it was directed by John McClanahan and Rusty Mills. And, well, we're going to kind of go through this episode kind of segment by segment. There's essentially 3 acts in this. And after we talk about each act, we'll kind of pause and then talk about what we liked about each act. If there were things that we liked about each act, or really just moments that really stood out. Because there are some, definitely, I would say, if it wasn't funny, it was definitely some powerful moments, I would say.
Or depressing moments, yeah.
Yeah, it affected you in some way. So, basically, it starts off, Slappy is just watching TV at home one sunny day, and she's flipping channels, and she can't get past talk shows.
2 p.m. on the WB network. Slappy Squirrel Cartoonathon. 2 straight hours of crashing anvils and exploding bombs. And they say all the educational shows are on PBS. Ha! Now what channel is that WB on again?
Men who date women who date men who are women on the next Jenny Jones.
That ain't it.
Women who married men who are married women today on Geraldo.
That ain't it either.
People who married their pets coming up on Ricky Lake.
And that's definitely not it.
Let me just go over the full list here. Jenny Jones, Geraldo, Ricky Lake, Montel Williams, Phil Donahue, who is apparently being pictured with Gordon Elliott. I thought it was Pat Sajak because Pat Sajak had a talk show too, or actually, I guess actually it was a late night talk show, which is totally different. Of course, Oprah's on it a few times. Sally Jesse Raphael, Maury Povich, Jane Whitney, who I don't remember, Jerry Springer, Mike and Maddie, Rolanda. I remember Rolanda a little bit. Regis and Kathy Lee, Rosie O'Donnell. You can hear this kind of Oprah talk back and forth, which is in reference to when David Letterman hosted the Oscars and pointed at Uma Thurman and then pointed at Oprah Winfrey and went back and forth saying, Oprah, Uma, Oprah.
I remember that. That was a moment.
Yeah, it was a moment. And it was...
Steven was...
Say that again?
I said Steven was there.
Oh, I would hope so.
Next on Jane Whitney.
Make it stop!
On the next Jerry Springer.
Kleptomania.
Mike and Maddie.
Elvis.
She played Tootie on The Facts of Life.
Uma, Oprah.
Is it true love or is it just a rash?
Now Tempest Bledsoe.
People who are people.
On Rolanda.
Uma.
Oprah.
Susan Powder.
With Regis and Kathy Lee.
She married a shrimp boat captain.
Mary Lou Henner on the next Rosie O'Donnell.
And she has, as is later described as, an episode. And when Skippy gets home, she's cooking her hat. She's cooking her purse, actually. She's cooking a lot of stuff in the oven and the toasters.
And Slappy, what are you doing?
I'm toasting my hat. What else?
Huh?
Love me, love my lawnmower today on Regis and Maury.
And Slappy, what's wrong with you?
You know, just basically babbles about shrimp boats and all this junk. And Skippy
Toot
doesn't... Toot toot. Yeah, she likes to say toot toot. Basically, at the end of all that, Skippy is... he tries to take care of the house for her. He tries to take care of Slappy. And one day, he sees that the whole house is almost on fire because Slappy is burning her Napoleon hat, which is very convenient to have when you're a cartoon character to show that you are now officially crazy, is to always grab your Napoleon hat, I find. So, in case there's any doubt, Slappy is gone insane.
Toasted hats who love Geraldo on the next shrimp boat. Toot toot!
And so she gets booked into the cartoon motion picture hospital rest home at the very end because, the doctor who kind of looks like George Clooney says this would be the best place for her. Well, that's the first act. There's quite a bit that goes on in this first part right here. What were your initial thoughts when watching this episode? Kelly, let's start with you.
I didn't know. I had no idea where this episode was going. It kind of got off to a strange start, and I had never seen it before, so I really was curious because there wasn't a whole lot that was terribly funny in it other than, I guess the whole talk show thing and Uma Oprah, that took me back because that was like the Academy Awards the year after Spielberg won for Schindler's List, and so I was still kind of really excited about the Oscars and curious to see what would happen next. I remember watching that and thinking David Letterman's so weird, but I was kind of curious about the storyline.
Yeah, it was definitely starting off on a very different beat. Nathan, what about you?
There was some funny parts with the Slappy talking to the doctor, doing tests on her, and Skippy saying what was normal and not normal. That was some funny-ish parts there, and but yeah, overall kind of depressing. It got kind of real with Skippy trying to take care of Slappy at home.
Yeah, it got real quick.
Yeah,
that moment. like this seems like a little too close to home for a lot of folks.
He was falling asleep in class.
He's taking care of her for 3 weeks, I think, is just at home. Just like, yeah.
How you feeling today?
Toot toot! Shrimp boat's coming up on Donahue.
That's nice.
Poor Skippy.
Yeah, it's a little depressing, I guess, is the overall feeling. But there's some fun, like the reference to Mindy Buttons. I laughed at that. So.
Okay, I love you. Bye bye.
Toot toot.
Yeah. So it definitely started off on a very not as it was still like you said, Nathan. It had some funny moments in it, and I love the animation in a lot of this. I mean, when Slappy was having her little breakdown and the close-ups on her face and everything, and how her eyes were bugging out and all that looked cool. I really did bring me back though to the 90s when it's kind of funny that there was a lot of talk shows out there. Mm-hmm. There really was. I mean, today there's so many other things that we could point to as examples of the downfall of society, with social media. Yeah, reality TV. But even reality TV is not even being blamed as much as it, say, was about, 10 years ago. You know what I mean? But back in the early 90s, it seems like that was, the thing that people would point at and say, that is the symbol of how bad our society is. Look at all these horrible talk shows that we have out there. And a lot of there was like an influx of just so many, on every channel, especially in the afternoon, that I'm sure a lot of kids could relate to this too, because instead of cartoons a lot, there would just be Sally, Jesse, Raphael when you got home or something. Or heaven forbid you didn't have cable when you were a kid and you had to stay home sick because there's nothing but talk shows.
Mm-hmm. And The Price is Right.
Oh, that Price is Right. Yeah, Price is Right, 10 o'clock, CBS for me. That was like the shining moment, and then the rest of it was just talk shows.
See, it's nice and clean, Aunt Slappy. It's just like home.
At Home with Kathy Lee, next on Rolanda.
I'll come every day at 3 o'clock right after school. You can count on me, Aunt Slappy.
You should go now. She needs to get settled in.
Boats Without Toot Toots coming up on Montel.
Go on home now, and don't worry. We'll take perfect care of her.
Goodbye, Aunt Slappy.
And now let's go on to the second act. So Skippy visits Slappy every day at 3 o'clock. However, her condition just throughout all of this is not improving. And, I mean, they try going to Walter Wolf at one point, and I think Slappy showed some signs of improvement when she's still able to perhaps unconsciously, I wasn't sure if it was conscious or unconsciously, switch some dynamite and make sure that Walter Wolf blew up in his hospital bed instead of her.
And now's my chance to finally get rid of that Slappy Squirrel.
It was always the same formula. He'd try to blow you up, but then somehow you pull the old switcheroo. And Walter would be the one who gets blasted, remember?
Not really. Come to think of it, the face is familiar. Toot toot.
So for a second I thought, is she just playing this as a con or something, a long con? But this is where the episode I think really got pretty real, because like Kelly mentioned, he's falling asleep in class, and that for me as a teacher, I'm like, this is real stuff going on right here, where the teacher asks Skippy, is everything okay at home? Now, by the way, let's just talk about privacy. Teacher, don't talk about that stuff in front of the other kids. Bring him outside. But whatever. Well, because of this interaction with this teacher, a social worker comes to check in on Skippy and see if Slappy is there. And Skippy tries to, pull a fast one on her.
She said she's busy.
Oh, this is really important. What is she doing?
And Slappy, she wants to know what you're doing. If she was such a lady, she wouldn't be asking.
I see. I'm afraid you'll have to come with me.
Wait, no, I don't want to.
You're a little boy. You need to be taken care of.
No!
We'll find you a very good home. You'll like it, I promise.
No, I have a home. I don't want to go. I want my Aunt Slappy. Aunt Slappy! Aunt Slappy!
Skippy has some good emotional stuff going on here. It feels real, and he gets dragged off to like an adoption village of some sort, or foster home, or something like that. Anyway, there we go. So now we're getting a little bit more real. And Nathan, what did you think when you saw the second act?
It's even more depressing than the first act. No, it was I thought that it was weird because the whole falling asleep, that was in act 1, and then like it's a whole season passes with Slappy in the retirement home, the rest home, because like the whole season changes, so it's at least it's I would say 3 months or something, and then finally the social worker comes. So it's like, I don't know if the teacher just waited to tell anyone, or if the social worker was just really slow at coming there, but it's been a while that she noticed the issue with Skippy. So I don't know. I noticed that. I thought that was weird. But I like that Slappy gets to be, like, they have a lot of cartoon cameos, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. They did have that was probably the funniest part of this, was just seeing all the different older kind of parodies of different cartoon characters, right? Like Woody Woodpecker and Donald Duck.
Mouse.
Yeah, there was a Minnie Mouse and a Donald Duck kind of character, and Goofy, and I guess maybe a Garfield. There was this dog that kept, if he said the word squirrel, he would go, squirrel, squirrel, which made me think, did they predict Doug in Up or something? Like, what?
Well, didn't Stink Bomb do that too? Wasn't he like big at like hearing squirrel, like when he reacted to that?
I guess a little bit.
I thought it was Stink Bomb's dad or something.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's a really old dog.
Yeah, that's fine. I know Stink Bomb was all really, really old, but...
Well, Kelly, what about you? When you get to the second act when CPS is coming to Skippy's door, what did you think?
It was really sad when the social worker came and got him. It reminded me of this episode of Punky Brewster when I was a kid, and I guess Henry had a heart attack or something, so he was in the hospital, and Punky had to go live with like this other family, and kind of went from place to place because she was a foster child and had been adopted, and got pulled away from her family, and I don't know, it just took me way back and remembering that, and I felt really sad for him. He'd been trying all this time to keep things going and maintain the house and taking care of Aunt Slappy, and he gets pulled away.
This really does feel like an after-school special, or one of those a very special episodes of Family Ties.
Oh yeah.
Kids WB will be right back.
Yup, after these messages.
And we hope that you'll be back too.
Greetings, Persons Perusing Podcast.
Are you looking for something a little different for your Star Wars themed shows?
Then join millions of others who now proudly call themselves scoundrels.
I don't think it's millions, Taxus.
It has to be close by now. After all the word of mouth and interwebs, nothing exists in a vacuum, Dennis.
Space does.
I'm not sure what this space vacuum you're talking about is.
Never mind. So if you're looking for a unique show for news, hot space opinions, unique discussion points with our hypotheticals, or Taxus' musings with Saber Clash, then tune into Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels with me, Dennis Keithley.
Me, Jay Krebs.
And me, your humble little Dark Lord of the Shtick, Darth Taxus. From failed bits to musical guests to dancing Wookiees, you never know who might drop by.
You really never do.
So start your engines, fire up your sabers, hold on tight, and join us.
For Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels.
Part of the RetroZap Podcast Network.
The kids of the 70s and 80s are all grown up, but the good times of childhood don't have to end.
Our generation can share the fun and fandom of our youth with the next generation and bring the past into the future.
And wrap it all up to make a fantastic present.
Join Jedi Schwa and Shaz Bazaar every Monday morning to get your work week started by reminiscing about the past and exploring the future with your earbuds on Techno Retro Dads.
So find us on iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, or on RetroZap.com. Part of the RetroZap Network.
Hello, genius people. Yakko Warner here. The only show we listen to in the water tower is the Animaniacs. I bet you can't guess why. Good night, everybody.
Let's go to Act 3. Act 3, basically Skippy, because he's now in a foster home or something, he does not show up at Three Cuckoos. And Slappy kind of breaks out of it for a while, and Slappy says, where am I?
Skippy? Skippy? Where's Skippy? And where am I, for that matter?
Yeah, that's all Skippy needed to do, was just not show up one day, and then Slappy would have snapped out of it.
Yeah, it's good to neglect your elder.
That's a lesson for today's episode. No. Basically, she says, hey, where's my nephew? And a lot of the older people say, I know, this is what I always have. There's this annoying pig character, voiced by Tress MacNeille.
Like I said, first they skip a day, then a week, then a month. Then they stop coming altogether. Family, who needs them?
Anyway, she basically makes a run for it. She, escapes in the night. Hello Nurse is there. She has two jobs. She works on the Warner Brothers lot, and she works at this retirement community, which, my goodness, they're not paying Hello Nurse enough at the Warner Brothers studio.
She's a doctor, too.
She's a doctor. She has multiple PhDs, as we all know. She does too much. This woman does too much. Anyway, she escapes. Slappy escapes, and eventually, gets to the CPS door and rescues Skippy, and they all cha-cha out into the horizon. It's a very beautiful shot.
Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I might have the wish I wish tonight. I wish Aunt Slappy would get better and things were like they used to be.
Hey, Pinocchio! I ain't the blue fairy, but I think your wish just got answered.
It's Slappy!
Come on, kiddo, let's go home.
All right!
Cha-cha-cha.
The show closes with a very jazzy Skippy or Slappy Squirrel, theme. And instead of any kind of tagline at the very end, Slappy comes out of her house and says, "It's over, go away." It's a totally Slappy Squirrel episode, and many people thought that this was kind of essentially might have been a pilot for a Slappy Squirrel show, but according to a lot of people, this is, that's not true. Tom Ruegger has stated online that he would have loved for there to be a, Slappy Squirrel spinoff, but this was not a pilot for it, apparently. And yeah, I don't think you would want to make this as a pilot for a show, personally. This is way too different. This is, to me, a pilot is like, you got to show your best, funniest stuff, and this was not. It's the funniest Skippy and Slappy. It was definitely a special of some sort. Well, that was the summary of the episode. What are some more of your thoughts, guys, on this episode, or at least how it ended and stuff like that? Kelly,
I thought the final, or one of the final shots with him and Slappy walking in silhouette down the hill with the tree next to them seemed very reminiscent of the final shot, or one of the opening shots, and then the final shot of Gone with the Wind. Ooh. With the tree in silhouette and sort of that orangey, glowy sky in the background.
Totally. I can see that. Nathan, what about you? What did you like about this last segment?
Well, I like that they finally got back together. I do kind of wonder if it was all in Skippy's head, though. It's it's a little too convenient that she just suddenly snaps out of it, and But yeah, it's nice. But yeah, this could have been just the last episode of Slappy and Squirrel, and Skippy's just imagining what it would be like if Slappy came back.
Whatever, Nathan. Okay,
it's a little more depressing.
Theories. But... Yeah, let's let that make it more depressing. Let's get to some reactions from some of our listeners. I put out a call out to Twitter, Facebook, and our Discord channel over at discord.animaniacast.com, and to get some reactions of what people thought about this episode, because it really kind of goes either way. I'll start off while you guys are going to Facebook and Discord. I'll just read something here that's on Tom Ruegger's blog, which is cartoonitics.blogspot.com. This one listener said, or one Animaniacs watcher said, Marlena said, "One I love, although it breaks my heart, is One Flew Over the Cuckoo Clock. I love it because it has brilliant characterization and it takes Slappy's character to its full potential, and you really feel for her as she ages and watches how the TV has changed." She goes on and says a few other things she likes. And Tom Ruegger responded and said, "Thanks, Marlena. Cuckoo Clock had a lot to do with my relationship with my great Aunt Kay when I was a kid. She was a great and positive influence. Some people fought that episode. They thought it wasn't funny enough, but I felt there was room for it. Glad you liked it." So that was back in 2012 that Tom was responding, talking about all this stuff. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on Tom Ruegger's blog that you can check out for a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff when it comes to it. Let's start with Kelly. What did people say on our Facebook page about this episode?
Well, Mike said that it was an interesting experiment, a tour de force for Nathan for sure. He says he really enjoys the animation. John McClanahan's art style constantly creeps through. So it's a visual treat. But at least for him, the story doesn't work. Bits of it are uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Nathan, what did you see on Discord?
I got two things. So from Cartoon Fanatic, we have, from what I remember, it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't a favorite of mine, but it was all right. It was interesting to see Slappy get her full half-hour episode. And then W. Clark 1 says, Joey, I think it was just okay. I appreciate the show trying to do a very emotional episode and be a one-off episode and having me buy the fact that she could have a meltdown from daytime TV. It's sad that that's how it was in the 90s. However, I have some issues. Skippy being taken away from Slappy is way too sad, especially for this show, and seeing him being stressed while taking care of his aunt isn't amusing. I don't think the episode doesn't know if it was to be funny with Slappy's condition or not. Lastly, I'm wondering why can't Slappy just leave, seeing how she's all better now in the last act. This is Slappy Squirrel, the old lady who would have put dynamite in your pants, and she's being wheeled back into her room. It just doesn't feel right.
Steven Soros here on Twitter said, of all the characters on Animaniacs, the last one you would expect to have such a heavy emotional storyline is Slappy, the dynamite's down your pants squirrel. And we had another one here saying from Tyson, from at Tyson Truths, says, man, I remember this episode messing with me as a kid. Funny moments sprinkled throughout, but overall, a kick to the feels. And I got to mention this one here from OptiGrab, because anybody who has the name OptiGrab from The Jerk is just an amazing person. Says, the thing I love is when Slappy goes crazy and she hears Uma and Oprah talk repetitively. So, yes, I agree with that. I think Cameron Brewer left something on Facebook, right, Kelly? What was it? Just
Yeah, it was, she just said, it's depressing, enough said.
There you go.
That's accurate.
It's depressing. Well, luckily it's not. I mean, hey, they got back together at the end, so that was uplifting, right?
Well, in Skippy's mind, they got back together.
Oh, stop it, Nathan. Let's go ahead and get to our water tower rating. Okay, guys, out of 5 water towers, how many water towers would you give today's episode? Nathan, let's start with you.
I'll give it 2.5. I appreciate what they're trying to do. I just also didn't really enjoy watching it that much.
All right. And Kelly, what about you?
I'll give it a 3. I also appreciated what they were doing, and I thought it was a sweet episode, really, and kind of... I mean, it really gave the spotlight on Skippy and saw, a little bit of different side for him and Slappy. So I liked that, and it just wasn't as funny as most of the episodes.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give it a 3 as well. I mean, like we said, Nathan Ruger in this one especially did some outstanding acting, I think, especially in like those moments where he's being pulled away, and then that other moment where he's like wishing starlight, star bright, and he's doing all that stuff. It's sad. It got too real though for me.
That made me think of an American Tale.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Anytime you see a cartoon character looking up in the sky, and I'm like, somewhere out there.
I should point out, because it's me, that's a Steven Spielberg executive produced movie.
Thank you. Very important to do that.
Yep.
Well, let's go ahead and get to our poll result. It's time to get to our poll results from a couple weeks ago. We had a fantastic episode last week. If you have not heard our interview with Tom Ruger and Paul Rugg last week, what are you doing? Go listen to that episode. It was a really fun time, and we, again, have to thank Paul and Tom for being on the show. You got to, talk about Paul Rugg's writing style, how he got involved with the show, and but before that, we had an Animaniacs poll, and this was the question. It says, which of these songs from #Animaniacs episode 82 is your favorite? So all of these are, ones that had lyrics. So coming in at the bottom was Panama Canal, that had 11%. The Big Rap Party was 17%. Hello Nurse got 31% of the vote. But the Ballad of Magellan won this one with 41% of the vote, saying that was their favorite song from that episode. Well, Nathan, Kelly, what do you think? What was of those 4? songs. What was your favorite from episode 82? Nathan?
Ballad of Magellan, obviously. It's so funny, and Paul Rugg helped write it, I guess. So
he did.
Yeah. I'm guessing he wrote the what part, because that's hilarious.
Yes, that was a very funny part. Kelly, what about you? Which of those 4 songs did you like the most?
I also like Ballad of Magellan. I thought it was a fun song.
Yeah, it's a hard toss up between Panama Canal and Ballad of Magellan, but I'm gonna go with Ballad of Magellan as well. It's just they're both really good. And by the way, I forgot to mention when we talked about it, but the lyrics, or not the lyrics, the people who sing the lyrics on the CD, Yakko's World, are a little different. It was almost like they did the CD version first, and all the sailors saying like, "Hey, that's Argentina," were redubbed with Dot and Wacko saying the lines instead. I just thought that was interesting. In the original version, at least on the CD, it was basically Rob Paulson doing the majority of, Yakko was singing it with a bunch of sailors, a majority of which I believe were all voiced by Rob Paulson too. So, yeah. Anyway, that's that. Well, do we have a question here for this week, Nathan, at all?
Oh, I do. I have the perfect question.
Hit us up. What is our question for this week?
Okay, so favorite Skippy and Slappy, round 5. All right, so we've had 4 rounds of this already. This one is all the last 4 except for this one that just happened. Give Me a Break, Method Tour Madness, My Mother the Squirrel, and Soccer Coach Slappy. So Give Me a Break is when Slappy is going crazy because she keeps trying to get a break but ends up in movies, so like Speed and all those other 90s movies.
Oh, yeah.
Method Tour Madness, Slappy's going crazy. No, because Skippy is a really good actor. If only there was another crazy episode of Slappy that I could think of. But she ends up teaching everyone how to act like a cartoon character or something. My Mother the Squirrel, Slappy's crazy and she has a kid. She starts thinking that a bird is her son or something. I can't really remember what happened in that one.
It's a bluebird.
The bluebird, yeah. So the cute bluebird thinks that Slappy is his mom. And Soccer Coach Slappy is where Skippy is playing soccer but keeps getting hit in the head and crying right in the face, I guess.
Those are 4 good Skippy and Slappy cartoons. So I would say that Cuckoo Clock would probably not win against those as the best episode. But who am I? I don't know.
It'll be around 6 questions.
It'll be around 6 questions to see if it runs into. In fact, I think there's only one more, Skippy and Slappy cartoon perhaps that we're coming to, because we're coming to the end of our run of Animaniacs, and you know what that means, folks. We need to find out what we're going to talk about when we're done with the classic run of Animaniacs. Should we talk about Pinky and the Brain, Tiny Toons, Freakazoid? Maybe Steven Spielberg, which that goes without saying in my mind.
That has to be a write-in.
Yes, that has to be a write-in thing. But you can tell us by going to survey.animaniacast.com and voting and just letting us know, hey, I'd like you guys to talk about this. And in a few weeks, we'll let you know what the results are, and we'll just continue going on with that. It should be a lot of fun. So, survey.animaniacast.com. Well, let's go ahead and get to some contact information. Nathan, where can people get in contact with you online?
I am available on Twitter, DangoFT, that's me.
And Kelly, what about you?
I'm on Twitter also, Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS. I'm also available via email, kelly@bigshinyrobot.com, and I'm also now on Discord, where I think I'm Kelly Animaniacast.
That's right. And speaking of our Discord channel, just discord.animaniacast.com. And, it's a great place to hang out with us and talk about the earliest episode or animation in general or Steven Spielberg or just whatever's going on in pop culture, not only with us, but also with the other folks over at RetroZap.com. Head to RetroZap.com. You can see a bunch of different podcasts that you can listen to, a bunch of different articles that you can read, as well as other great content as well. You can see us also on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram, and send us an email. if you so wish, animaniacast@retrozap.com. Finally, I'll just say, you know what's really cool, guys? iTunes reviews. That's right. You can give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we so appreciate it. And we'll see you on the top of the podcast charts. That'll do it for today's episode. So, for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds of the Animaniacs characters or any other Animaniacs-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Warner Brothers, Amblin Entertainment, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animaniacast unless otherwise indicated.
Cha-cha!